Hi, welcome to the Juju Shelf. My name is Juju. In this video, we're going to review all the books I have read so far up until today, which is December the 9th. So let's get started. Last month, I read Pumpkin Spice Cafe by star rating. It wasn't a bad book at all. And if you love instant love, you will love this book. It was really cute, and if you've watched Gilmore Girls, you can easily visualize the town when she's describing it. And I could see how Logan was responding just like it wasn't hard to read. Like, I think I knocked that out in like 2 days. It was a real easy read. So another book I read was a novel, Christmas. I rated that 4 star. I haven't wrote the review for that yet, but she basically was told that she had to write a Christmas novel. She was like, I don't write Christmas novels, but her last two or three books, like, had lower ratings. The publishing house, they were like, write a Christmas book, and we want it by next year. And it was 1 month until Christmas. So she was like, I got to get my research in now, and I got to find a Christmas town to go to. So, and that's how the story starts. And she goes and finds this place, and it's in the middle of nowhere, and there's a snowstorm, and the main as a firefighter, and he has some complex history of his own, and some challenges that he has to work through. So it was a really good story. I really enjoyed it. Now, another book that I really enjoyed, which I think was by Brittany Cherry, The Holidays. Oh my goodness, Holly goes through a lot. Like, in the first chapter of the book, I was like, I was like, no, she didn't. So it was a really good book. I could see myself reading that book again. I did rate it a 4 star. It was very cute. The main female character about a guy that she was about to marry, and the story, like, the characters had depth, like they had hangups. And you got to see what he was thinking, and what the male main character. I don't like anything, not even Christmas. It's just like, I don't like anything, and it's because he's had some hard challenges himself in the past, especially with the relationship. And I don't want to tell you the story because I don't want to ruin it, but uh, you're getting pieces of that throughout the story. At one point, I was thinking, oh my goodness, you know did did something tragic happen to his prior partner? Like, so you're kind of like piecemealing that together throughout the story to understand why he's kind of like grumpy the way he is. And it was I really enjoyed that. I probably will read that book again. That's why I rated it a 4 star for sure. And I'm definitely a fan of Brittany Cherry. What else did I read? I'm looking over here because I have my remarkable, so I have written down everything that I've read, because last time I did a video, I realized a big chunk of the books I read on my Kindle, because I didn't have the book in front of me and I was talking and I was a little nervous. I completely spaced out on. So, Christmas in Spite of You by Casey Mills. That was a really good book. I rated that a 4 star. Like, I'm literally smiling because of what happened. It's forced proximity. Female main character, she it gets sick when she rented out her apartment, and she believed that she canceled it, and then the guy shows up, and what transpires after that is quite funny. And the attraction between the characters, and how they really, like, ended up connecting. And he was, of course, he was instantly attracted to her, and she was instantly attracted to him, but she was like completely acting completely different than how she really felt on the inside. And he was just, and he was as well. Like, he was saying some stuff that he was like, he knew he would never do, but he just wanted to be around her. And he was there for a business related. He wanted to be in that specific building because the person he was trying to do business with was there, and it was during the holidays. You shouldn't be working during the holidays anyway. You shouldn't be working during the holidays anyway. And he was. So he was like, I should be focused on work, and he was focused on her, and they really had a really great time just celebrating, bits of Christmas, because he hasn't really had that great of a Christmas in the past. So it was really nice to see him kind of like enjoying Christmas for the first time probably ever, and she's always enjoyed Christmas and being able to share that with him. I've read a historical fiction book called Mademoiselle Revolution. I've rated that book a 3-star. And if I was a historical fiction like guru and I have read more of those, I feel like my rating may change up or down. I'm not really sure which way. The premise of the story is that you follow this young biracial woman, and she starts off as living on a plantation, and she's the only person of her color that isn't treated like a slave. And she's part of the family, and she has 2 brothers. One brother absolutely hates her, and the other one loves her. It's in Saint Domingo, and I hope I'm saying that correctly. But it's basically when the revolution started there, like when the slaves basically rose up against the people that thought it was okay to own them, and they flee to Paris. Then you go through like and I do mean all the challenges that they face in Paris, and there's death in the story, which it's a historical fiction, so I guess that's not really that much of a surprise. But there's a lot of death in this book, and as someone that is always interested in history but doesn't really like, I didn't really know all of that happened in Paris specifically, because the majority of the story is in Paris in the 1700s. And I mean, you can Google the revolution and how Paris became the republic and all of that, and you get a nice little gloss over. But this book really paints the picture. So if you really are a history buff and you want to know like what that actually felt like from a person's perspective, like I feel like this author really did a great job of painting that picture. Will I read that book again? Absolutely not. An interesting read, like for sure. Like I did not feel like, oh my goodness, I didn't feel like I was pushing myself to read the pages or anything like that. It just also was just really heavy. I was like, oh, nothing but Christmas books the rest of the month. Like holiday romance for me. That's what you'll be getting from me from this point on until January. Like, not happening. Okay. The next book I read after that, which I absolutely love this book, and I believe it's a novella. It's Saint and Queen. Okay, my daughter wants to say hi.
Hello, hello, hello. Goodbye.
Okay, so what was I saying? Saint and Queen. So the male main character has had a challenging past. Like he's been in jail. He's had, he he's handsome. He's got locks. He's got, he's a beautiful black specimen, but he's had challenging times, and clearly he lives in the projects. So then there is this guy in his apartment, and this guy is telling him, "Hey, I am Saint, also known as Santa Claus, and the whole story that you've been, you know, taught to believe about Santa Claus being white and all of that isn't real. Like he's like, we are the oldest beings on the planet, and we are magic." And it kind of like goes from there, and he's like, "What? You need to get up out of my apartment." And he doesn't say it like that, but he says it in his way. And I laughed in this book, I cried in this book, and I really wish it was longer. Like I hope that the author watches this video, at least this little 5 seconds or minutes or whatever, and she says, "I'm going to make another extension of this book for Juju, because I will read it." It was a really cute book. It was full of magic, and Okay, you can't be doing dishes now. You're gonna have to give me 5 more minutes. I'm almost done. So I really enjoyed that book so much, and it was a perfect book to read after Mademoiselle Revolution. Like, it was light, it was lovely. I said you can't do the dishes. So after that, I read another novella, Gnome One Like You. It was this the female character, she makes gnomes, and the male main character, he is very successful, and he had, the two characters. This is a second chance romance because they had a history in high school, and there because the male main character, there was a point in the book where you're like literally tense, like, come on, say it. Good book. I'm not sure I would read it again. I did rate it a 3-star because of that, because I was like, ugh. And there was a point that I literally I was almost done with the book, and because of him, I wasn't sure I was going to finish it because he got on my nerves so much. I was just like, if you don't get it together. But I pressed on, and about 10 pages later, the world was a better place. And let's see. So in the last video, I said I was reading the book The Most Wonderful Time. I am putting a temporary DNF on that because it's not a holiday book. I watched another review about this, and I read the cover again, and I was like, this is not a holiday book. Like, there is nothing about this that's really Christmassy. You're in the video again. I'm totally putting a note about you. And just, when I edit this, sit down, and then I will move my head so you'll be behind me. You're set. Okay. Just go to, stay right there. Okay. So it was just like, oh, the most wonderful time of the year. Okay. Most wonderful time of the year. I've hit a temporary DNF on that because it's not really a holiday book. I read the back of it again. I watched another review on it from one of the other booktubers, and they were like, the holidays were mentioned, like Christmas happened, but it wasn't a holiday book. And when I was reading about it, like, I made it like 4 or 5 chapters in, I was like, this is not a Christmas book. So I'm not really sure why they advertised it that way, probably just to get people to read it, but I will read it later, like January, February, March, some other time. But I am not reading it for Christmas because I want to read Christmas books in December. Also, I read Royal Holiday. That book was so cute. I loved it so much. I rated it 4 stars. The story is that mother and daughter go to England, and we go to the UK, and she meets this I think his title's like secretary to the queen or something. So he's like really high up in there, and you follow how they connect and their romance. And I really loved it because they were older. And when you're older, you're kind of more settled in who you are. Well, hopefully most people are kind of more settled in who they are. And it was easy. They not to say that they didn't have challenges, because they did. Because when you're older too, like, some things you kind of get settled within yourself, and you're like, okay, this isn't going to work, because just logically we live on different sides of the country, or the world, should I say, on different sides of the world. And just having them overcome these obstacles, which their obstacles weren't even that, to me, they weren't that hard, because long distance relationships aren't, in my mind, a roadblock. So to some other people it may be, but it's not to me. That being said, I really enjoyed that book. I loved that they were an older couple. I loved how their romance kind of unfolded, how they started spending time together, and how the daughter helped also pave the way of being like, no, you're going to stay, enjoy yourself. And just it was a really good book. Also, Sky Full of Elephants, I mentioned that in my last video. I finished that, of course. And where's that book? Oh, it's over there. I'll post a picture of it. Sky Full of Elephants. That was a good book. I rated that book 5 stars. I rated the book 5 stars because it was thought-provoking. It was impactful. The main character, female character, Sydney, she drove me crazy. There were a lot of things that she did that triggered me as a biracial woman myself. Some of the things she did really frustrated me, but I could also see where I could have been her myself. So, which is probably why it made me feel that way. But the book was so riveting because of the fact that you're like, oh my goodness, this happened, where all these Caucasian people walked into a body of water. Some lakes, some oceans, rivers, they found a way to walk in the water and basically kill themselves. And then all you have left are people of color. So you have, some Asian people around, anybody that wasn't quote unquote just white, which, and you come to understand how this happened. And there's a point in the book where the main character, Charles, has to make a really challenging decision on whether he's going to actually make the event global, because my understanding when I first started reading was it was all over the world. Come to find out, it was only in the United States. And if he did, and I don't want to say what it is or whatever, but if he decides to go forward, then it would be a worldwide impact. But also, just like weighing the cons and the pros of that was really hard. The upside to that is if he did do the thing, I'm trying really hard not to spoil this book. If he did do the thing, then it would also bring just a level of connection and Black consciousness and help heal all the wounds and pains that we, as people of color, feel every day. It really had me reflecting on how much pain and trauma we hold in our bodies, and especially as people of color. Not to say that people, Caucasian people don't. Obviously, we all have trauma. Europeans, especially, where I read a couple of books on Europeans, and they were purveyor of their own torture before they brought that over to everybody else. So I just said, not to say that they don't have their own pain and trauma, but this book's focused specifically on Black trauma. So that's what I'm talking about. And really thinking about it, I was like, wow, how much trauma that we hold in our bodies, and how we need to all work on just self-care, self-love, and transforming that energy. So it was a really good book. It was one of those books that book was a little bit harder for me to read because, like I said, the female main character, Sydney, she was driving me freaking crazy. I couldn't, but I made it through, and I read that in record time. I think it was just a couple of days. So it's not a hard read in that respect. It's a very good book. So the book I'm currently reading, and this will be the last book that I talk about, is Christmas with Kris Kringle, and Kris and Kringle are spelled with K's. And I just started reading that book, so I'll let you know how that's going. Obviously, the main character's name is Kris Kringle, and right now I'm at the part of the book where the characters are really just starting to connect. So it'll be fun to see how that book goes. Until next time, have a great day. Bye-bye.